Hi traders, and welcome to the Technical Analysis Market Wrap on Friday the 16th of October. So I've seen some reasonable moves this week. Some of the trends are starting to play the game on some of the majors, and the S&P 500 is doing its thing ahead of the election. So we'll jump straight into the charts and see what we can find for some opportunities today and early into next week. So I'll start out here on the Aussie on the daily chart. We can see here that obviously our big support line that we've got drawn here at the 70 cent mark is really strong, and yeah, we're waiting for it to potentially touch that again. But in the smaller time frames, we've certainly seen some opportunities to actually scalp this one. The 4-hour one is obviously in a shorter trend. We can see the series of lower highs and lower lows, which is great. MACD is certainly playing the game for us on this one as well. But I think when we go back to the 1-hour one, this is probably the chart that is going to give you the most opportunities. You can see over the last few days of trading, the last 3 days in particular, we've had our sequence of lower highs and lower lows. And if you do trade the shorts off the 20 moving average, which you know I like to talk about a lot, you've got plenty of opportunities to get involved in this one. So this has been providing some really good opportunities to basically traded into those 50 pip ranges that we've talked about. Nothing has really changed on this one. I haven't got any long-term views on it other than the fact that the 70 cent is a very strong level, and we're going to play 50 pip scalps on all of the trades. A lot of the scalping that I'm going to talk about today is basically going to be around the 50 to 100 pip ranges, because that's what we're really expecting the markets to do. We don't think it's a really good opportunity to set long-term movements for a lot of these pairs because there's just too much volatility and uncertainty in the markets at the moment. So yeah, the scalping opportunities are really good, and even the majors are producing them. So this Aussie is no different. The 50 pip movements are very strong. You can see now that we're only 87 odd pips away from the 70 cent, and it's still looking relatively short. So it's come back up here and touched the 20 moving average. But yeah, for mine, this is the level that it probably wants to get to. That's the real serious level of support. 71 cents didn't provide much support at all. So this is the real level. If it gets down here, start to look for probably buying opportunities to get it back to around these levels here. But again, I wouldn't be setting the targets too big. Just be aiming for the round numbers of the 50 and 100 pips, and you're going to get some good scalping opportunities on this one. So we'll move on now to the US dollar CAD. This one has had its little bounce that we were hoping it would do. Actually, I've been waiting for this all week, really. We need to go to the smaller time frames to see its significance, but you can see it smack bang into the 20 moving average on the daily. But when we drop it down to the smaller time frames, we had this consolidation period here that was basically doing a whole lot of nothing and forcing itself into a roll reversal zone. You can see this red line here. You had all of this support right through this level here, so a really important zone. So we knew that this level was a pretty strong one. And when we go back to a 1-hour chart, you can see how many times it actually attempted to break it, and it really just consolidated between the moving averages and that zone. When it did eventually break, though, it certainly pushed up higher and went to our projected target, which was around this sort of 132.50 level. Again, always going for those 50 pips at the moment. Okay, we're not going for anything too extravagant. 50 pips is a really good target, especially for a scalping opportunity, and that's what we're looking for. So you can see that when we did eventually get that break, we got a 1-hour close above this, which was fine. If you wanted to wait for the longer, bigger break, which is probably the more consistent one, especially given that the area was so strong, even this one here gave you the opportunity. That was a 130, 190 sort of level. Once that closed, then you can take it long and look for that sort of 50 pip move, that was about 60, so that was a pretty good move. Now, it's really important, like I say, when you understand that a level is very strong like this particular one is, and you really need to take it out to the bigger time frames. We say this a lot, but it's really important, even if you are scalping, to look at the bigger time frames to identify the really strong levels of support and resistance, because they're the ones that will tell you if there's trouble ahead, and they're the ones that will tell you to look out for the potential fake outs. Now you can see here the support was extraordinarily strong here at this level at around this 131 sort of 55 to 57 level. So when you go back to the smaller time frame, then that line is already there, and you can see how price has interacted with it on the smaller time frame and really pushed it and tested it. So you've got to be really conscious of the fact that this is a very strong zone, and when it does break, it's probably going to explode, very similar to what it did here. So yeah, good trade, and hopefully people caught of that, because I know we were talking about it last week and we've been waiting for it for a little while. So hopefully you're able to identify that one and get in. What it does now, look, it's looking long again. I mean, when you look at it from the standpoint of the bigger time frames, you can see that it's had a very big move on the 4-hour, but on a daily, it has found a pretty strong level of resistance here again. And this is why I said yeah, you only want to be going for those 50 pip moves, because there's trouble everywhere you look on a lot of the majors, and this was no exception. You can see that 20 really pulled it up here. Still a good move, but we're probably going to see a little bit of a move down from this level now. Ideally, if it comes back down and touches the moving averages down here, it might push up again and break this zone. So ideally, we want to see a break up. I don't really want to see this one going down again, because we can see a really good pattern of higher highs and higher lows now, and hopefully this trend will continue on. But it's certainly found resistance. You can see it right through there, and this is why we draw these lines. You can see resistance was there, here again, a support there, which is obviously going to pull it up. There's a very strong chance of pulling it up here, which it did. You can see it went all the way up to the sort of 59-ish area, 132.59, before it rejected and pulled back. So now you're going to look for the smaller time frame changes of trend again, hopefully to continue in this direction. I'd like to see a pullback probably to the maybe to the 50 or to the 20 on the 4 hour at the very least. That would be a nice pullback. That would consolidate our higher high and higher low sequence, and hopefully push up higher and break this new zone. But if it comes back down to around these levels here, especially around the 132 solid, there'd be nothing saying that it's not going to have a pretty good easy run up until the 132.50 again. So another good 50 pip scalping opportunity to try and get it there. All right, we'll move on to the dollar index now, painting a very similar picture and probably explaining a little bit of why the US dollar base pairs have been so strong. You can see that we've got the sequence of higher highs and higher lows on the 4 hour. I'll take it out to a bigger time frame on the daily. You can see it, it's trading above the 20 moving average again. A really, really important moving average for it, has been for a long time. It does find itself at resistance again, so you can see it there, but it's got itself to a level now where when you go to the smaller time frames, you've got the momentum of the change of trend. So you can see the lightning bolt effect on the 4 hour chart. Okay, broken a key level of resistance to get there. It's finding itself at resistance again. Like this is no surprise that these ones are finding themselves resistance points every 50 pips or every 50 points in this instance. But that's okay. We know what we're working with. Ideally, a pullback down to this level again will be fine. When it's testing it from above, we know it's going to be a roll reversal zone, so it gives us an opportunity to potentially long this particular instrument again, or trade off ones that are going to be affected by it. Most importantly, probably the Euro USD, which is the one we're going to have a look at next. So the ideal trading situation for this one would be a pullback down to around this level here, around the 93.50 to 60 zone. A pullback there would be great because it would coincide with a 20 moving average providing support on it as well on the 4 hour. That's what we're looking at the moment. The daily is a little bit less significant at this stage because we're scalping, and hopefully we can take it to either these highs again, which will be a good scalping opportunity in itself, or just as importantly, potentially break this resistance zone and push up higher, which you'll see the US dollar CAD and the US dollar Swissy and also the Euro USD, which we'll look at now, start to move as well. All right, so let's go on to the Euro USD. Again, we're going to focus on the smaller time frames. Today, we're going to look at the 4 hour one again. You can see that we've got the series of lower highs and lower lows. This has provided two good opportunities to short and get involved in this short. So for those of you who have been watching the Friday Wrap videos for a while now, you know what I think of the 20 moving averages and the pullbacks that go with it. So you can see here that we've had two reasonable pullbacks to basically get involved in this short. We had this one here, and we also had this one here. We know the target was around that sort of 117 level because we've been talking about it for a long time. So when we bring it down here to the 117, okay, we go out on a daily chart and you can see that was at the channel that was hovering in. You can see how much support that provided. So it's a round number and it's a very, very strong level of support. So it gives us a very, very logical target from these shorts off the 20 moving average. And we can take it down one time frame lower. And again, even the 1 hour gives us all those signals. So you can see if you're trading the 1 hour chart in the direction of the shorting trend, you can see the lower highs and lower lows. You can see how many opportunities you got to actually get involved in this one. So it's really important to have a bias, and this is why we draw the lines on the charts at the key support and resistance zones, because it gives you a bias as to where you think the prevailing trend is heading, but also price in uncertain times, like I've mentioned many times before, does gravitate to those key levels. When it's a little bit uncertain, it gravitates to the big key numbers. So this is what we're looking for here. So what we're going to be seeing here is a series of higher highs and higher lows on the 1 hour chart. That would get us definitely excited about potentially longing off this particular level, which is the 117. We know it's a really, really strong level. The logical target would be to the 117.50, just once again, the 50 pips. And yeah, that's straight into support here that you can see right through this level here. So around that 117 sort of 55 area, there was support there. There's resistance straight in front of it. In order for this to make a series of higher highs and higher lows on the 1 hour, it's going to be above the 20 moving average, which we want. We've got MACD on its side as well. So that's the preferred trade at the moment. We wait for a break above this level here. So probably about a 117, probably 15 close would be okay. That would give us the lightning bolt effect that we want. And it's still about a 30 pip to 35 pip take profit. So still a scalp, but a reasonable opportunity to get in and scalp off a pretty reasonable level. All right, the last one we're going to have a look at today is the US 500. Now, this is the daily chart, so you can see that we hit a pretty recent high again here. This is the high from back in August or late August, early September. It hasn't quite reached that yet, but it's fairly close. It's certainly given it a go. We've seen a couple of days of weakness now, but yesterday's trade was, what is effectively a hammer candle. I'm not paying a lot of attention to the technicals on this on the bigger time frames, mainly because it's being influenced by a lot of things other than technical levels. But when you take it to the smaller time frames, that's where you're going to get your opportunities to potentially trade this one. Okay, you can see here on the 1 hour chart, prior to the sell-off over the last few days, you can see that it was basically bouncing off the 20 all the way up. So every one of these is an opportunity to go long on this one. And yes, aiming for those short and sharp take profits is the way to go. Even on the way down, you really don't want to be going for longer term moves because it's just a little bit too uncertain. So you've got to keep your take profits and your stop losses relatively tight when you're doing this. But even though on a daily it doesn't make a lot of sense for where it's at because it's being dictated to by things other than technical levels, it still gives us the opportunity to trade reasonable levels inside the smaller time frame. And you can see how many opportunities we did get to trade long here and short. You can see the sequence of lower highs and lower lows all the way down. So what we're wanting now, of course, is a bounce off the moving averages and it to make the series of higher highs and higher lows again. And most likely it'll either test the top level again, which is probably where you'd be taking your take profits at the highest point, I would have thought, or if it reverses down and gets below the 20 moving average again, start looking at shorting opportunities and basically just trading what you see on the chart. No smaller than 1 hour. I think 1 hour time frames probably perfect for this particular indice, and you're going to get pretty reasonable 20 to 50 pip moves on this, and it's trading quite technically for a market that's fairly volatile. On the smaller time frames, it's trading very, very technically, so that's really good for us traders. We're able to get into these opportunities, and hopefully you're going to be able to catch some of this one. So I hope everyone's had a great week's trading. There's been some really good opportunities, and I think some of the breakout moves that we saw on the dollar-based pairs could continue on into next week. So hopefully we'll see a little bit more of that action. And have a great weekend, and I look forward to seeing you all next week.